The governor's race, it's Democrat Gavin Newsom against Republican John Cox, which is what Newsom said he wanted. He wanted to run against a Republican. So Phil and I asked former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown if this is a case of be careful what you wish for.
You really better be, because believe me, on the acceptance speech in the interview the day afterwards, Cox was really
John
impressive.
Cox, the Republican nominee?
John Cox from San Diego, from Indiana, from Chicago, was really impressive. All I can tell you is one time when he said, you know, I build houses at $80,000 per house. So the house you want to live in, that's $725 here. $725,000. That's what Newsom will give you. I can get you at 80. That's impressive.
That's tough to beat. He also, I think that there's room for him, too. There are plenty of liberals or Democrats or even independents who are not in love with single payer, or at least don't think it's necessarily
health care, the $400 billion plan to universally cover everybody in California and anybody that comes here.
That's right. And that's been the linchpin of Gavin Newsom's campaign so far. And so I think that, you know, it's not a huge window, but there is a moment where I think even folks who consider themselves Democrats or liberals will take a look at Cox and say, okay, can I live with that?
Come on. Gavin Newsom and the Democrats are going to hang Trump and his endorsement of Cox around him and say, there it goes.
He was, again, in that interview, the first interview, when somebody tried to do that, he says, oh, yes, he said, he endorsed me, and I'm grateful that I endorsed him, but his policies and my policies are dramatically different. And you'll see that difference as the campaign unfolds. That's what Cox said.
And he's also admitted he didn't vote for Trump. So I think he's given himself some room to walk a fine line there as well.
It's going to be interesting. A lot of this is going to depend on money. Will John Cox have the money to get a message out there?
Phil, he will have more money than Meg Whitman had on the basis of necessity. This state is a prized place for the Republicans to focus on. They're now running in third place in terms of registration. Watch that flip. They're shortly below the independents, or what is called decline the state. The first thing you're going to do, they're going to flip that. And as soon as they flip that, then they're going to start. And believe me, the remaining Koch brother, one of them's out, but the other one is in. They said the one's dysfunctional, it won't matter. That money and that activity is going to be here, and so will there be a ton of other things. Although, I think Newsom will get to Soros's money.
And once again, Bay Area voters went to the polls, and they said yes to just about every spending and tax proposal out there. So Phil and I asked former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown, why is it that the Bay Area just can't say no?
There is a quality of life that all of us really pursue in the San Francisco Bay Area. We really do want this to be the best place in which to live. And we know transportation, schools, infrastructure is all a part of it. And when you put something on the ballot that evidences that, we embrace it.
Well, but San Francisco has an $11 billion budget. Our state budget is $190 billion, and yet voters consistently, statewide and here, want to give more and more money.
It's kind of funny because it's like shopping at a store. I understand, but what you're getting back, everybody's not happy with. The same voters that have been giving all this money for transportation, housing, and education turn around and say, our roads are terrible, our schools are terrible.
We need to get people who can spend the money better. That's why Newsom is running. He claims he can spend the money more effectively. Now, my guess is that Cox is going to demonstrate, i.e., in the past,
it's this catch-22. They say, you say we need people that can spend the money more effectively. Then they turn around and say, no, what I really need is more money to spend effectively.
And voters say, here you go, because $11 billion is not enough.
But keep in mind, that's part of what happens when you start to spend, Phil. You want to buy a suit, and you suddenly discover you need a tie and a shirt to go with it. Then you discover you need shoes. And then you discover the tie and the shirt you bought requires cufflinks. I mean, it's amazing how expensive it becomes to achieve the goal.
I'm sure some of his suits cost as much as some infrastructure projects, I think.
Yeah, and I would think that the voters would want to know two things. First, that the need is real, and second, to have some level of trust that that people are going to be good stewards of the money.
That's right. There's always this, they always put in there an oversight committee or something like that, but those have varying levels of success, and they're set up to have varying levels of success, and some of them are sort of picked by the very people they're supposed to oversee. So you really do have to read the fine print to find the kind of oversight that I think voters hope that is built into some of these bills.